Muh Media Narrative, the narrative of I'm broke, says the journo. I have tried everything, and I have come out terrible on the other side.
Good.
This could be applied to anything, of course, recent times.
Yeah.
But specifically, we're going to talk about the thing I really don't want to talk about, which is Ukraine. No, not that. But instead, the Ukrainian refugees who came to the West.
Ah, yes.
That's lots more fun. And far more funny.
Yes. Yes. Turns out Ukrainian refugees aren't woke.
No. Also, they might have noticed what we have noticed, which is, and you'll find this around the earth, no matter where you go. What do you think of England? What do you imagine English people look like? Ask foreigner. They're never able to accurately describe how we live. Not because there's English people who don't live like they're describing, but there aren't many of them.
They don't meet any.
No, they can't find any. And to prove that, well, you did the data, so I'll plug it. The census data proves Britain is not a nation of immigrants. The endless media narrative here of, aren't we a nation of immigrants? No, factually not, just by the data. I mean, I think, correctly, we can point to 1990, about there being the point of no return, where it just goes off a cliff.
Oh, it really amped up in 97. It's
97?
Labour opened the borders.
Yeah, it's about that period.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting to Ukraine, though, because there was the first Ukrainian narrative, once upon a time, before Special Operation and the war there.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago, back when the media narrative from left-wing media was there's Nazis in Ukraine, be scared about it.
Back when they weren't our Nazis.
Yeah, but it was always, we can't find any Nazis in the West, we've tried, and we still gin up support endlessly, as we all remember, that there are Nazis out there somewhere, and then they found some in Ukraine and went, look, see? And everyone went, where's Ukraine? I don't know what that is. Don't care. Anyway, if you go to the next one here, local journalist, we'll get back to her in a bit. This lady here, Miss Sonny, she talks about the fact that she was in Ukraine apparently and was reassured that they weren't doing Nazi salutes. They were just pointing in the opposite direction of the fans. Yeah, okay.
Very Boo Earns, that, isn't it?
Yes. And if we go to the second Ukrainian narrative, of course, that things changed, which was, race grifters had to come in here and talk about how, wait a minute, well, the Ukrainians fleeing the war.
Well, they're all white, aren't they?
You like them for some reason, but you don't like Abdul Rahim, Qassam, and so forth, the fighting age men of Chad.
Yeah, the women and children fleeing from an actual war, or the obvious grifters who are out on an adventure.
Local explorers and literal criminals from Albania who are using this to infiltrate your country. Why don't you like them as much? Well, clearly it's because they're brown. Yeah, I mean, this is really the narrative everyone remembers. But
Mustafa really is highlighting things that maybe you should think twice about highlighting.
They are civilized and look like us, the racist coverage of Ukraine. Anyway, moving to Poland, because Poland managed to find, be embroiled into this at the time, which is...
Why is that the thing you noticed? Like, they're fleeing from a goddamn war.
Yeah, no, that's not important, is it?
Yeah.
What's important is brown people.
Okay.
Thank you, left-wing media.
Yeah.
They also went up to Poland and started reeing at them, because the Polish, you may remember, Belarus is a funny country run by a funny man.
I do remember that they were bringing thousands of Muslims across, and the Polish was just like, no.
Well, the funny man in Belarus, just to set the stage, decided he would import loads of
Litvenko
Muslims.
or something like
I can't remember his name off the top of my head now.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. Anyway, but he decided to import them all. Literally, who cares? Just some dictator. He got them all in and went, hang on a minute, go to Europe. Trust me, they'll love you. They're so welcoming and love refugees.
I don't think this was in any way a coincidence. I'm sure it was just part of, like, war by other means. Like
yeah,
Russia and
100%
Belarus.
was.
Yeah.
Like they picked up the refugees in Minsk, put them on buses immediately off the plane with security officers riding the buses, and then drove them all to the border with Poland and went, go free. EU over there. Trust me, they'll love you. And the Polish went, no, we have a border, and enforced the border. So, of course, them racist, because they take Ukrainians.
The Polish are like, we're in the EU for the grift, not for the human rights. Get out.
I'm here for German Gibbs.
And don't get me wrong, I respect Poland for doing it.
Yeah, hey, you respect the hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
You owe us 15 trillion for the Second World War. I thought there was 5 trillion. Why are you trying to rob me of 25 trillion? Keeps going up. But the Polish being right in their assessment, which is people fleeing war, refugees, people who want to break the law and just take things. No, not refugees, but they got blamed for that, even though they did nothing wrong. And then there was actually some racism that occurred, this time in Ukraine. This was on the evacuees, in which there are a load of African immigrant students.
In Ukraine.
Yeah, which was a weird location, but whatever, was a big place. And they decided to go there, and apparently they were running into problems when they were trying to flee, which is that the Ukrainian government were like, Ukrainians first. The women and children. And of course, this is racism because the difference between white women and children and black men is purely the skin color. Nothing else. Do you remember that?
I remember the guy's clip where he's like, I can't fight for Ukraine, I'm black.
Yeah, there was that too. But and then there were the guys in Ireland who were totally Ukrainian. But this whole stupid nonsense. But then we get to the final Ukrainian narrative, because forget all that. That was the old narratives that went walkabout.
Oh, okay.
Now we have this one, which we're not going to play that clip because it contains a black man using his word.
Right.
Because if you scroll up on this, we can see, Ukrainians decided to arrive in Britain and everywhere else. So not everywhere else. In Poland, they've been fine. The vast majority went
Well,
to
they
Poland.
probably had to live with Polish people.
Yep, but also Poland is similar.
Yeah, neighbouring Ukraine, cultural contact.
German hotels, not so much. Swedish hotels, not so much. And anywhere in England we sent them, not so much, as you can see here. Over 100,000 Ukrainians have sought refuge in the UK, but not all of them have found it easy to settle in a country where the ethnic diversity and cultural values are very different.
Really?
I mean,
So they weren't happy living amongst the English then?
yeah, I mean, they met loads of people whining about the Magna Carta and lockdowns.
Yeah.
And went, I can't deal with this.
Too much politeness when they're opening the doors. Oh, I bumped into you in the street. Sorry, I apologise.
Yeah, the ethnic diversity. There are Celts, there are Welsh, there are Scots, there are English.
Regional diversity.
I can't tell the
people
difference.
from the southwest, people from the north, the Yorkshires.
I thought I learned English. Turns out I can't understand 90% of them.
I can understand how a Ukrainian would find that very challenging.
Yeah, it turns out it wasn't that kind of diversity and value system. If you scroll down, I mean, people who recognise the meme, that's...
I don't recognise the meme.
Okay, well then we'll just let the people who recognise that one recognise it, because I ain't reading out.
Okay.
If we go to the reporter, though, because this is something to get back to, you may remember her from earlier. She's Indian, she's Sikh, just to keep this all in mind as we go forward. She's the one who's doing the story on this, and therefore, I believe, has no excuse to not understand. And I think actually...
Possibly she's deliberately misunderstanding?
For her job safety, because we'll go to the
Not just that either, but yeah.
we'll go forward. If we go to the next link here, you can see that she would whine about in the old days why there were black immigrants not being given first duty to leave Ukraine.
Would you stay and fight in an African country if a war broke out while you were there? For all those asking why black and Asian students try to flee Ukraine, just don't stay and fight. Wow.
Anyway,
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's like, yeah, why would I be in a black or why would I be in an African country? And I know I'm not going to.
no, we can't go any further than that one. That's why I stopped.
Yeah.
But if we go to the clips, because she decided to do some reporting.
Great question though, Dashna.
And oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Let's enjoy clip one.
We hadn't necessarily taken into consideration the cultural differences.
But those cultural differences weren't often talked about when Andrea signed up to the Homes for Ukraine scheme. She lives in a diverse part of Birmingham. After a week of staying there, her guest told her there were too many Muslims in the area.
We were quite shocked at how difficult she found different cultures.
She felt there were just too many Muslims.
Too many Muslims, too many people with different skin colours.
Her guest's son was enrolled into the local school, where the majority of children happened to be black and Asian.
And then to just have her complain about the demographic of the school and going, well, he can't be safe there. There's not enough white kids, essentially. The majority of my neighbours are Muslims. A lot of them are Kashmiris or Pakistanis, Indians, and they're wonderful people. And you just felt if you just would sort of give them the time, perhaps we'd come to the same conclusion.
They both agreed to end the placement.
I'm trying to hold in a lot of laughter at that last line there, because I love how they had that conversation and then the Ukrainian went, nah, going back to Ukraine. I'm done. I'm done with this country. This is not what I signed up for. Some things to note. Let's go through that methodically. So, won't you learn to love Pakistan? I think is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, in Birmingham.
Yes.
If you just got to know the Pakistanis who now live in Birmingham, and not the English who used to live there.
And that's the point. It's not about even the black and brown faces, as she We'll get onto that conversation later. But the idea that it's just pure race, it's like, no, this isn't an English area. That's what the Ukrainian is getting at.
Yeah.
Which is like, funnily enough, the history of England isn't Islamic, but Birmingham is at this point. So,
But the history of Eastern Europe has often been Islamic at times.
Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Eh?
Eastern Europe has had an Islamic history.
Okay, is that a polite way of putting the siege of
Well,
Constantinople?
Colonization, oppression,
Yeah.
slavery. My point being,
Yeah.
the English woman there with the very messy kitchen was showing absolutely no cultural sensitivity to a woman whose people may well have been oppressed by Muslims for a very long time.
I don't think. Well, yeah, the Ukrainians were enslaved actually.
Yes.
I remember. I still haven't found it, but I remember reading a book once that listed the price of slaves in Constantinople, and the Ottomans were pricing. They were pricing black girls as the cheapest, and then they were pricing. The Ottomans doing it. They're brown. I don't know.
Racist Turks, honestly.
Yeah, and then they priced Libyan girls as the middling, and then the most expensive girls on offer were Ukrainians,
Oh, really?
and they would charge. I think it was you could buy one Ukrainian for 4 Sudanese girls. That was the exchange rate there. So yes, they actually were
Yes,
taken
but
as slaves.
my point being lack of cultural sensitivity by the English now.
Sure. There's also the
They're
lack
just
of.
Muslims. What could you possibly have against them as a Ukrainian?
There's also this confusion. Like the Ukrainian is staring her down and being like, "Do you not understand that this place is really weird? Why is it loads of Muslims in
Do you not
England?"
understand that you're living in an Islamic enclave?
And the white Lib Dem there is just like,
Yeah.
"I don't get it. They're great." And it's like, yeah, they may be great. They may be wonderful people who make wonderful food and say bloody and please and thank you. Okay, cool. Right? But the point is, it's not English culturally because there are so many, to the point that the individual is like, this isn't England, this is Birmingham, and that's a correct statement.
There are literally no European children in this school.
Yeah, I also find it funny how the journal was the one who brings it up. I don't know if you noticed, but she was there going, cultural differences? The white lady.
Yeah.
And then the Indian Sikh there is just like, too many Muslims. And she goes, yes. I'm glad you said it.
I can't say that. It's literally a hate crime.
Yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it, but she just like buzz it, too many Muslims, right? It's like, all right, yep.
You're the Indian lady.
The Sikh role in life of the Raj being to dispute between the Anglos and the Muslims and the Hindus and all the rest of it. So there's that. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the next clip in which she tells us, well, shouldn't more be done to disbelieve your lying eyes?
Could more be done to help the refugees who have settled here to integrate? It's a question that's been debated with each new wave of immigration over the decades.
For people who aren't from the UK, they don't realise there's lots of people that look like me here. And that can be quite like, wow, I thought England was full of English people. And it is, because I'm English, but I just look very different.
Defining diversity. When this refugee support group recognised the problem, they organised this workshop for Ukrainians who have settled here. The government told us they provide councils with £10,500 per refugee to help Ukrainians fully integrate. That funding has been halved for new arrivals. This workshop is a voluntary scheme, one of the very few in the country, and there's no specific funding for it.
And that kind of keeps happening. If you look back at previous waves of immigration, exactly the same things were said. People are actually, it would have been really helpful to have had a bit of guidance, to understand the city, and we just don't seem to be able to fix it.
That is just remarkable.
Oh, so many things to say on that.
Yeah, the first one, well, they just need to integrate. What? Do they need to go to the mosque with Abdul?
Yeah, they need to integrate into England.
Yeah.
By going to the mosque.
By going to the mosque, yeah, with the Kashmiris. And the Ukrainian woman's like, no, I'm a Christian. I know you're an atheist, but no. But secondly, I love they come to England and they expect England to be full of English people. It's like, yeah, I know, right? Whoa, what a crazy thought that is.
And the lady hosting it is explaining, well, okay, I'm English as well, even though I'm black. And it's like, yeah, okay. And one of the things
Culturally, sure, yeah.
One of the things I find amazing is she says that, well, in the previous clip, the school happened to be majority black and Asian.
Just happened. There happens to be a mountain over there.
Not going to name the name because I don't know if he wants this public, but we used to know a guy who lived in London, and he had lots of kids, and he was taking his first kid to school and checking out all the different schools, and he went into one classroom, and there was one white kid in a class of, I think, 40, and the teacher showed them around, and they were like, okay, this wasn't the same 30 years ago. That's a vast change.
Yep.
And then she pointed at the one white kid and said, "Oh, that's Lucas. He's from Lithuania."
But he is white, right? You're all together, aren't
which
you?
was a really weird thing to do. Which is just like, yeah, but he's a white boy, right? And it's like, what?
Who speaks Lithuanian? Do the Lithuanians even speak Lithuanian?
As if there's some kind of like, yeah, well, look, same race, huh?
Yeah.
No? No, what are you talking about, Wade?
It's crazy.
And the question of integrating to what? But I love the line of, shouldn't more be done to help them integrate? Again, into what? But the fundamental question being...
Put on this hijab.
Yeah, because at the end, the black lady here mentions, the same thing happens every single time with every wave of immigration.
It's really crazy.
It's crazy. So if every wave of immigration you have into Britain, there are huge problem with integration, and we've had many waves of immigration and no integration, wave upon wave of not integrated groups, what happens? You get Birmingham. And then you get the new foreigners turning up being like, what is this?
Where are the English?
Yeah, what did you
Literally,
think was going
this
to
is
happen?
what I was asking for.
It's the whole reason I came here. I could have stayed in Poland if I wanted to just hang around people of like the same race.
I actually didn't think to become a refugee to Pakistan for some reason.
Yeah, no, they actually wanted to come to English culture. I mean,
I love we find an
later.
actual refugee, and what are they? They're racists.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
But the whole narrative being, I don't know if you've played We Happy Few, but the mechanism in that game is that everyone's high on drugs called joy to make them forget what their government essentially agreed to.
Now, I haven't played that. I've seen the clips and like screenshots and stuff. But like that was like I was watching the faces of these Ukrainian women. You could see they're just like,
They wear these fake masks with these big smiles on in the game.
yeah. But the Ukrainian women are just like, these people are clearly insane.
Yeah, but I'm mentioning the mask for something we're about to show.
Okay.
Because in the game, they all take this thing called joy, and it just makes them happy. It makes them forget what their government has done.
Oh yeah.
And it turns out, in that game, what they
Could do
did,
with some of that.
they sold all the kids to the Germans. So there's some parallels there in the grooming gangs, but never mind.
Yeah.
And I just get the whole theme of this is just, have you forgotten to take in your joy? It's just, isn't this great? And they go to one Ukrainian who's in the struggle session, who sits with her big face on.
And the Ukrainians just like, look, I'm a normal person. I'm not a crazy progressive. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I
I'm
don't
not there
actually think what you've done to England is good.
This person's pleading for their space still, so let's play this one.
Arrived here in October with her son.
For us, it's rather like amazing to see so much religion, so much ethnicities. And
Because I guess you're just not used to it.
yes, of course,
What did you feel about the workshop today and what you learned?
British people, it's not only white English people, it's all people here is British. So for us, it was very important to understand it from their history.
She looks like she's about to cry.
I mean, she looks kind of terrified.
It's just like, if I give the wrong answer, I'll be shot.
Yeah, well, I never, I expected to see English people. Yes,
Yeah.
of course you would.
Yeah. But then we go to Oksana. Oksana's not like Olga. Oksana's made her decision. She's done with this place and is not going to hold back. And let's listen to what Oksana has to say about the whole thing.
Tackling cultural integration can be trickier.
From the best area of Kiev, where I became to the worst area of the Birmingham, unfortunately.
Oksana moved here from Kyiv last summer. She admits that at first, living side by side with so many different cultures made her feel afraid.
I was very afraid because it was not usually for me, and and some people just told me about so many dangerous stories.
Those stories, Oksana says, included cases about Islamic terrorism.
Lots of people here would feel very offended that you feel just because it's a mixed area, it's not safe.
I saw statistics on the police website, police, and so I saw statistics of criminals instead of it. And also I read in the internet in English when I began that this is the area from terrorism.
Oksana has now moved to a new area.
I love everything about that interaction. It's just
Some
like,
people would be offended.
just because it's a mixed area you think it's dangerous. It's like, no, it's not just because I think it's a mixed area. It's because I've got the stats. That's why I think it's dangerous.
I went and looked
It's
on the
'cause
police website and I was like, oh my goodness.
there were 5 stabbings on my road. That's why I think it's dangerous, not because everyone's brown. So what do you want exactly?
But some people would find that offensive. I don't care.
Yeah. It's like, also, your fear is offensive. But this is what we are fed in this country constantly.
It's disgusting.
It's so crystallized because the Ukrainians can get away with anything because they're the golden goose of mainstream politics at the moment, and that's just how it is. And they're allowed to say whatever they want, which is why they're able to just tell people the blatant truth that's staring them in the face. It's like, look, stop taking your joy. What's wrong with you?
But also, they're an old world people, right? They are a people. I am a Ukrainian. Ukrainians are a thing, and there are things that are non-Ukrainians.
They're outside the Anglosphere, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really just our sphere of language that is completely screwed.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I'm calling them an old world people. We're the new world people. And so you can see that she's just like, right, I expected England to be a people, and I've come to Mega City 1.
Yeah, and we can literally just map it as well with Birmingham.
Yeah.
1 in 4 people are foreign born.
Brilliant.
So there you go, you get that. Only 42% of them are even British. So you have that. Great.
What percent of those are English?
Doesn't say, because I couldn't get the breakdown there, but probably about, I don't know, I'm going to guess 40%, something like that?
No, it's not. It's about 37%.
That's nationally, you're thinking?
No.
This is locally to Birmingham.
Yeah, in Birmingham, it was about 37%. We covered this in
Okay.
the thing. I'll find the statistics later, but it's a very small percentage are English.
Yeah, not a surprise. And they'll be living in their own areas as well, because that's how this works. It's not spread equally out over an area.
Yeah.
Every single time you have had mass immigration, and every politician who has dealt with this, who has now left office, have all admitted, no, everyone just forms their own gangs, as in like ghettos of these people live here, these people live there, these people live there. Trevor Phillips has done amazing work on this.
Yep.
We've been over 1 million times, so I won't bother. We'll go to the YouTube version, though, because the comments were really funny. The top comments are all from left-wingers who don't understand.
Oh, right, okay.
Because we don't have to discuss much. We all know.
Yeah, we all know what's going on.
So I thought we'd enjoy looking into the world of a momentarily confused group. Quote, "You're fleeing war and you still have time to be time for hatred and to be racist. It's so weird."
I love it. It's just, right, okay,
Still
yeah.
have time for
you're,
hatred.
you're legitimately a refugee and you're a racist, so I hate you.
Right, okay.
Amazing.
I would have thought that life in another country surrounded by different peoples would be more positive than having your home blown up to bits. No, they went back.
You would have thought, wouldn't you? You would have thought.
Yeah.
But it turns out, no, it's actually worse.
That was the second most liked
I'd
comment.
rather the Russian invasion than this.
Yeah, you're not wrong either. I mean, would you rather go and live in the worst area of Birmingham or move to even Luhansk under the Russian occupation? So, Russia every time. Quote, "How do you have the time to be racist when you fled a war?" Not even about race here, let's be frank.
No.
No. I mean, if they moved to a largely Hong Kong area in England, I don't think they'd be bothered. "You're fleeing for your life, being taken in and shown kindness by all people around you, but you still have time to be racist," shaking my head. I would have replied with, "If you don't like it, you can always go back to Ukraine."
Oh, we've arrived at the racist position on immigration.
But also, dumbass, they already did. I think it's over 2 million now have returned to Ukraine from Europe. Loads of them have gone back because everyone thought the whole country would be invaded, but no, it's just...
But also, they were probably like, yeah, Europe's crazy, man.
Everyone is going to the rest of it. Can't imagine why. There's also a bunch of pissed off journalists. This is the most people I saw pissed off about this piece. So this person works for Channel 4, so there you have that.
Fatima,
Yeah, if you go to the next one, we have a guy who works for Al Jazeera English. So, yeah, of course.
Saif Khalid, right, yeah.
Yeah, no Hong Kong journalist, annoyed. Go to the next one. There's someone else here. They work for...
Noshin Iqbal.
The Guardian's women's editor over here. Yeah, anyway. We also want to check in with the local centre that held that struggle session.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's revealing. It has pronouns. If you scroll down on this...
Of course it does.
Slightly underneath the tweet, just because they've tagged themselves, the lady here. Miss Poland, she, her.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Polish people saying sorry for that. Don't worry, lads, we understand.
Yeah,
She's not Polish culture anymore. She's too busy integrating with the Anglosphere. And if we go to the next one, there's also the owner herself deciding that, because she responded to the piece, saying that reading crime statistics is racism.
15 people attended our workshop to learn more, and none were racist. How do you know? People are open-minded and want to learn more about Britain. Right, that's very interesting. If notice only one person in this material moves out of their area and openly presented racist views, this was filmed at a different time and different place. What I love about this is what it says about England at the moment. Like, I can't find any English people, but I'm definitely a racist.
I just think it's really funny. Like, the foreigners are fighting each other on, what's wrong with England?
Oh, yeah, not one single English person is involved, apart from that one woman in her kitchen who was like, I can't really say what the problem is.
Yeah, that's the only individual, and even her position was... I'm not saying it. Yeah. Go to the next one. We have other terminally ill people calling crime statistics the main reason for racism.
That Channel 4 report about the Ukrainian refugees struggling to integrate here because there are too many black and Asian people is absolutely not surprising at all. No, it's not in any way surprising, is it? It's not surprising. It's not in any way a surprise.
Think about what you're writing,
Yeah,
please.
exactly.
For the love of God.
Oh God, they're so close to understanding.
Yeah, and we'll end this off just with the fact that it's not just the Anglosphere, to be clear. Germany and Sweden, for example, have had exactly the same responses.
I guess, sorry, look, Khayyam Alami here, him, bleak, especially that part with one of the interviewees mentions checking police website statistics goes to show the depth of affirmation these reactions have from the structures that enable it. Right, reporting the crime statistics was the problem. It's not that in these areas they have remarkably high crime statistics or terrorism or anything like that. No, it's that people get access to that information. Thank you. This is all we need. That's exactly the point.
The purpose of collecting crime statistics is to foment racism.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we end this off with going to Sweden, because the news came from Sweden, which is just, this is a while back.
Yeah.
But even then, everyone in Poland was like, I'm not going to Sweden.
Yeah, the Ukrainian refugees who were afraid to leave their hotel rooms because of the diversity.
Yeah, there was another tragic story just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There were two, we covered at the time, two Ukrainian women who were alone. I believe their husbands were being conscripted.
Yeah.
They'd gone to Poland and then were moved on to Berlin. And then Berlin moved them into a hotel. And in the hotel, they put Mohammed and Abdul. And, the women were raped. It's just keeps happening. Don't know why. Anyway, that's that, which is Muh Media Narrative. And I'm just finding it hilarious on every narrative around race in Ukraine. Because, of course we have to talk about race in Ukraine. Has just died a death.
They're white, aren't they? It's like, oh, well, brilliant. Oh, fellow whites,
It's Lucas, he's Ukrainian.
Yeah, he's laughing, like...
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the economic series, this one on debt and deficits. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.